Alright, hello. So today we're going to be looking at classes and objects in Python. Alright, so firstly, I'm going to show you how, let's go into just what those two words are. Firstly, a class. Go and look below. It's basically a collection of functions and variables. You'll notice all these defs, those are functions, and then we have some variables in there. Now, an object is a variable of that class type. Not a variable inside the class, like title here, but rather a variable that is of that class type. So our goal with this lecture is to understand how to actually use these classes effectively. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm actually going to go ahead and ignore the class itself for a while and just look at how it's being used. So take for instance this. You see reading equals book, and then I give it some title, or at least what you can assume is a title. Now this right here is making an object. It's kind of like how when we had, you might remember from when we did things with the TK interface, and we did, top equals TK. Well, in a very similar way, we're doing reading equals book, and we're making a new object that is of type book. Now, because it's of type book, it has access to all of book's variables and functions. You can see that it has access to those functions, one, because it starts off by making itself a book, but then also because it's adding contents and reading with that book. Now, when we actually run that, you'll notice that that read function results in this whole little paragraph here being written out to the screen. Basically what we might say is reading. So with that, since we're adding in the contents and then we're reading with it, we can assume what these functions do. Add contents probably adds another page or another line to our book. Meanwhile, read is going to print it all out to the screen, and it prints it out in a very particular way. It prints out the title with a tab, and the words at the end with a tab, but then also each line is printed out with 2 spaces before it. So it's able to hold on to these values and then print them out at any time. You'll notice that when I go to the end of the program and I do reading.read again, where reading is the name of that first variable, that first object, it prints that same stuff out. So we can assume that book allows it to hold on to variables for titles and pages. Now, I'm actually able to do that twice. Besides the authoritative version of the limitations of Strzelecki, I'm also able to do that again with a different object, also a book, this time kind of an early preview of the wisdom of Strzelecki. Kind of nice. You'll notice it runs in a very similar way, well actually in the same exact process as the Lamentations did. So some of the use of it, I hope is able to be seen here, is the fact that we can use this in order to have these collected objects that can do stuff. Let's go ahead and start building an example, and hopefully we'll see how this works. Alright, so I'm going to make a new file, and well, I would ask, if anyone is on the stream or in the live chat, but I don't think anyone's on there at this time, and also I'm not live right now because that didn't work, and I wasted a whole 13-minute lecture doing that. So here's part 2. Alright, let's go and do a horse. Class horse. Alright, now I'm going to make this horse thing, and one of the first things I need whenever I work with, or at least whenever I work with them, I should be using, is what's called a constructor. Constructors are functions that always are named underscore underscore init, and then with 2 more underscores after it. They always take a parameter of self, and for now, I'm not sure what other things I want to give horse, so I'm just going to wrap it up. So you can see this is a function, and it's what's called a constructor. Maybe here we call it an initializer, because it initializes all the variables. Now, some things that I think a horse might have would be things like name, breed, age, and its sex. There we go, MF. Alright, so those things all describe a horse. Okay, so because I am doing all that right there, I should go and be able to actually use it. Now, I'm going to actually take these out for a moment and just simply put a placeholder here. Alright, now with what I have there, I do technically have a completed class. I got its name, and I got an initializer. And I can see that this works by making a new horse right here. I can run that, and you'll notice that it just simply prints out placeholder. Because when I write this here, it's calling this method. Ignore the self for now, but hopefully you can see how this is technically that because of its name. Alright, now let's go and bring all that stuff back. The name, the breed, the age, and male, female. So all of that I'm actually going to go ahead and add up here as parameters. Meaning that I'm now able to actually pass it a name, a breed, an age, and its sex. Now, since my constructor has changed to have these 4 new variables, again, we'll get back to what self is later, but having these 4 new variables, I have to actually give that in to that. You'll notice if I try to run it, it's going to break. It takes exactly 5 arguments, but I've only given 1. We can read that as takes 4 arguments and 0 are given. So I gotta actually give it its name, its breed, its age, and I'm gonna make MF be true, false, true for M, false for F, and look, it's already an F. That's false anyway. Perfect. And there we are. Doesn't do anything, but it works. So one thing I might want a horse to do, so I can make mini horses using this kind of methodology. I don't really know any other horse names, so I'm going to go ahead and use gold since I have silver. Alright, it's about 34 years old. We'll make it true. So it's this one's a guy. This one's, at least biologically, male. That one's female. Cool. Okay, cool. So it doesn't really do anything, but now let's go ahead and have it start doing things. Now, when I think of horses, one thing I think that they can do is speak. So we'll have it speak, and we're going to write the self word again, and we'll come back to what that is. Because I'm going to show you now why we need self. So those of you familiar with other programming languages might think of self as being very, very similar to the word this, which you have probably encountered. At least in any object-oriented programming language. Java, C++, all that. So self actually refers to what object we are currently with. You can tell that silver and gold are supposed to have different names, different ages, and different values for whether they're male or female, right? So you can imagine each of them have their own variables for that. Now we differentiate between them with what are called instance variables. An instance variable means that that object, let me just see here, we are in time, okay, about 9 minutes. Each object has its own name. So we say self.name. So self.breed, self.age, and self.male-female. So that way then when we speak, it goes, hi, I am, and then do self.name, so we access its particular name. I am blank, blank, I am a, and I'll put its breed, who is self.age, years old. Nice to meet you. That's a thing horses can do, and I'm in an error right there, I just realized. Really? I didn't. Oh, but when I actually try to use it, I'm going to get an error. Yeah. Okay. Just simply that I have to turn age into letters version. And there we are. So the speak method, again, also takes self, but again, we don't write it there. We never really write anything for self here. Self just simply differentiates it from what object we're using. So that way it could have silver.speak, and it will tell us that it is named Silver, who is a horsey, who is 12,364 years old. And if I change that to gold, gold will say his spiel instead. His, right? Yeah, his. All right. So it allows me to make so I'm able to make multiple horses just using this framework. And I'm able to collect all of these variables and these functions together in one place. It makes work. Hopefully you can think of some ways to use it. Now, I think one of the best ways to use this and is to control how they interact with each other. It's cool when they talk to you, but that's not nearly as cool as this. So horses are also well known to be vampires. So they have this function called steal age, where they steal age from another horse. And so when they do this, basically they increase their age by the other horse's age divided by 2. And then the other horse's age actually has to go down. So right here, I'm adding the other horse's age divided by 2 onto this guy's age, and then I'm taking half of the other horse's age away. And so you can see that that works, that when Silver, the vampire, starts stealing age from Gold, and then I have the two of them speak again, you'll see how Gold's age drops by half, and Silver gains yet many more years to continue being the immortal, yet eternally devastated horse that he is, or she is. So that's kind of the story of Silver and Gold, and that is how classes work. And there you are. It's able to work with one another. It's able to play with one another. And notice how after I've written all that, it's all abstracted, because I can just basically ignore all that and just work with Silver, Gold, and A, who is another horse. A was his father's name. It's proud horse. True. And I can make Gold even steal his age. Yeah. You know, I can just basically that I can continue to write this story, continue to do things with these characters, just from the framework that I built with the class. So hopefully you can see some uses for it. I mean, you got vampiric horses, and you got books. I cannot think of anything else that you'd ever want, really, you know, other than vampire horses and the wisdom of Strelechus. But hey, maybe you'll think of something cool. I hope you do. Have a good one.